Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Tuesday. I hope the week's going well. The start to the week is going well, wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Obviously now into the final international break of 2024. It's quite nice to say that, although it's pretty scary because it means that Christmas is right around the corner. How on earth has that happened? Anyway, plenty to discuss today. Despite the fact we're in the international break, Martin Odegaard is returning to Arsenal. So we're going to talk about that. We'll look at what he's had to say, what the Norway team doctor has had to say about that decision. Got plenty of questions and comments from you guys on David Coote and the PGMOL crisis. I think you have to call it that after that video leaked online yesterday. Lots of you getting in touch to get my thoughts on that. So we've got to discuss that big talking point, obviously, in the world of football right now. Look at what Mikel Merino has been having to say after that game against Chelsea at the weekend and Arsenal's title chances. Got some other comments from you guys to get stuck into, but we'll begin with Martin Odegaard. We spoke about him yesterday on the show, the fact that he was going to be going away with Norway. That was not a long trip in the end, because right now he is in the air heading back to London. The decision has been taken that he will not play a part in the two games over the international break with his national team, which I think is probably the best decision. I could see the argument, and I know some of you felt this as well, because I saw it in the comments. I shared some of them yesterday. I could see the argument that if he did go over and play, maybe not 90 minutes in both games, but say he started one and got 30 minutes in another, I could see the argument that that could actually be quite a good thing in terms of his match sharpness and his match fitness after such a long time out. But I think it's probably just the muscle memory in my brain of seeing him get injured wearing that Norway shirt, that I still would feel much better, I think, much more comfortable with him not being part of this squad just immediately after coming back from that injury that he suffered with Norway a couple of months ago. So the decision has been taken. He went over, spoke with the national team, met with the medical staff, and the decision was taken that it would be best for him to come back to London, and he's doing that right now. This is what the team doctor in Norway, the Norway national team, had to say. He said this has been a complicated ankle injury with a few training sessions with the team in the last 9 weeks. It is natural that the body is not 100% at this stage. After thorough investigations and conversations, we have agreed that Martin will not be ready to play for the matches against Slovenia and Kazakhstan. In consultation with him, we have agreed that it is better for him to return to London to continue his rehabilitation there. So those are the words of the Norway team. Dr. Martin Odegaard has also been speaking in the statement released by the Norway national team. He said, after discussions with the medical staff at the national team, we have unfortunately concluded that the situation is not good enough to play these matches. I've been through a long training period, and when you haven't practiced football in the last 9 weeks, it's natural to not be 100% yet. I need to listen to my body, complete this rehab process, and get my foot back in good shape. The hope has always been to be able to play the national matches, and if I hadn't played on Sunday, it would have been out of the question to participate anyway. So those are the words from Martin Odegaard, and also previously some words from the Norway team doctor on the decision for him to stay. And I think ultimately most Arsenal fans, even the ones that felt maybe it would have been good for him to get some minutes, are probably going to be resting a little bit easier over this international break, knowing that Odegaard is being wrapped up in cotton wool, so to speak, at the training ground, and whatever rehab he needs to do, because I'm sure that ankle would have reacted after Sunday's game to have not played for that amount of time and then come back after basically 1.5 training sessions with the squad, or maybe a couple of training sessions with the squad, to play 95 minutes or whatever it was, 99 minutes in the end, in a London derby of that intensity. There must have been a reaction. It must have been really stiff and painful the following day. So yeah, I think it is the best move now, having sort of thought about it a little bit more. And yeah, hopefully he's going to be fit and ready to go straight after the international break, because Arsenal certainly need that. Right, moving away, just this picture makes me laugh. Moving away from Arsenal for a second. I suppose it's not moving away from Arsenal because it impacts Arsenal, even though Arsenal were not specifically named in this video. Now, if you haven't seen the video yet, it's easy to find. You just have to search for it on social media. It's over all the newspapers, all the newspaper websites, of David Coote getting himself into all sorts of trouble I mean, clearly he was wasted. I think that's pretty obvious from the video. But I mean, he must have been so. It must have been a long day and a long night, because clearly this was a bit of an after party situation that he's found himself in, and for some reason he has allowed himself to be videoed talking about Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool, and it's obviously a terrible, terrible look. I'm not going to repeat what he calls Jurgen Klopp and what he says. I'm sure you've all seen it already. But it's a terrible, terrible look for PGMOL. It's a terrible look for David Coote, obviously. I mean, look, he's now been suspended by PGMOL. He's accepted, by all accounts, that this video is genuine. And he has now been suspended by PGMOL pending the investigation that is going to follow. So we'll have to wait and see the outcome of that investigation. But it is very difficult to see a way back for David Coote after this, because of the nature of the video and what he said. I mean, I just don't see how you can come back from that, but we'll wait and see on it. I mean, so many of you have been getting in touch. I've just got a few of your questions or your comments on the screen here. Like Aaron says, after the Coote incident, I seriously have a doubt on PGMOL and referees. Arsenal are a team that has a lot of incidents when it comes to strange refereeing decisions. Let's face it, most referees will talk like that between their close friends or family. Coote was just unlucky that the video has been leaked. Referees can talk in private places and think for themselves about certain clubs or players, but Coote has gone way too. Coote has gone too far in Liverpool games. James says we can't ignore these type of behaviours and believe PGMOL is not rife with bias. Did they only act as they became public? Did he send Rice off because he didn't like the way Arsenal challenged decisions? Arteta was cleared by the independent panel, etc. PGMOL statement: David Coote has been suspended with immediate effect pending a full investigation. PGMOL will be making no further comment until that process is complete. Arsenal Lover 72 says, hi Charles, great content as always, thank you. Can I just ask your feelings on David Coote's suspension by PGMOL over his thoughts and grudges on Jurgen Klopp? Also, do you think referees hold grudges against Arsenal, having had some poor decisions against us? And he says, what do you think about PGMOL taking action against David Coote after he made those disparaging comments about Klopp? Personally, I think the whole institution is unfit for purpose, needs to be dismantled. It's an absolute joke that the likes of Oliver ref exhibition matches in the UAE, and then you have the likes of Mike Dean on Sky Sports essentially defending his mates while attempting to be impartial and offering insight. And there was loads of other comments from you guys as well in there. Right, my thoughts on it. First of all, look, as I said, David Coote was stupid to put himself in this position. All referees will have thoughts about managers. Of course they will. I mean, imagine if you're a fourth official, like David Coote has been many a times, and you spend 90 minutes getting abused basically by managers, shouting in your face, probably calling you stuff. No, it's no surprise you go home and you vent that frustration to your partner or to your mates or something like that. Of course it's going to happen. It's human nature. You're going to be annoyed. They're going to annoy the hell out of you. You're going to dislike some of them, and you're going to slag them off behind closed doors. Okay, we all know that would happen. Of course it would. But you don't do it when there's a camera shoved in your face. And I know the excuses are, he's clearly, I can't remember doing it, too drunk, whatever. But that's no excuse. If you're a top Premier League referee, you don't allow yourself to get caught doing something like that. And it just puts PGMOL in a terrible position, because there's already, to talk about bias, and you've mentioned it here, the ones on the screen have mentioned it here. Again, human nature says it's very difficult to believe there will be no bias in some decisions. You would hope there wouldn't be. You would hope that they're absolutely down the line, of course. But sometimes there is just always that doubt that human nature comes into it, because these guys will be massive football fans. You don't get into refereeing if you're not huge football fans. You don't put yourself through what referees have to go through, because it's a horrible job. I mean, it's a rewarding job, I'm sure. If you get to the top level, it's great. But you have to take dog's abuse. No one likes you, and you get so much abuse for it. So you have to be a mad football fan to get into it in the first place. And so on the back of that, of course, they're going to support teams, because they're going to grown up huge football fans. They're going to love certain teams and they're going to hate other teams. But the hope is that if you become top level referee and you're professional, that you can put that bias to one side and you can just referee a game straight down the middle. And most of them, I'm sure, do. But there are some times that you wonder as a fan about bias. And when you see something like this, it's very hard to sort of get that thought out of your mind. So it does the referees no good. I'm sure all of Coote's colleagues must have seen that video and just thought, oh no, what have you done? Because now all the suspicion is going to be on every single decision that is taken, even more, and the scrutiny is even more because of what's Coote's done, and everyone's going to think this is bias. Look, blah blah blah. You already seen a reaction, and quite understandable, to be honest, reaction from Liverpool fans on social media since this leak was made public. I've always said that I don't buy into the corruption thing. And again, I know you guys, lots of you always shout at me in the comments about that and say, how can you not believe in corruption? Everything, in all walks of life, corruption exists and all that. But maybe I'm just choosing not to believe it, but I just don't believe that corruption is anything to do with it and, money changing hands or anything like that. But bias and human nature and bias is another thing. It's a completely separate entity. One hand corruption that a lot of you talk about, other hand bias. Corruption, I don't believe it. I still think, and it's not, never been proven. There's never been any sort of story, certainly in this country at the very top level, that I can think of where corruption's come into refereeing. But bias, it's very hard to believe that probably doesn't exist in some theme. And again, this video, it's just a real hammer blow to PGMOL, Howard Webb, and that organisation. And I agree. I just think the whole thing needs looking at. It's just the fact that there's only a select pool of elite referees, and most of them all come from the same sort of 30-mile radius in the country, and it's all in one certain area in the north. It's like, how is there such a slim pool to choose from in terms of elite referees? What is going wrong? Why are we not producing more elite referees from all over the country rather than just one specific area where there's so many clubs where, again, you can have biases because there's so many clubs that hate each other and these referees have grown up as fans. So the whole thing needs looking at, reorganizing and starting again, in my opinion. And again, this video is just another example of why that has to happen. So there are my thoughts on it. Okay, back to Arsenal news, or direct Arsenal news. Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice, as I was speaking about yesterday, I was sure this was going to happen. It has now, of course, been confirmed that Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka will not be playing a part of the England squad for the two upcoming games in the Nations League. I think it's eight dropouts. I think Foden, Grealish, Ramsdale, Saka, Rice. There are a few others as well. I can't think of them right now. 8 dropouts in that England squad, which I believe is a record. But from an Arsenal point of view, no surprise that neither of them could finish the game against Chelsea at the weekend because of injury. Rice, we know, basically just managed to get him through as much as they could of that Chelsea game with that toe injury that he's been suffering from. He was always going to pull out. Saka obviously went down in the second half of his injury. We hope it's nothing too serious and it'll be fine. I mean, if they are, you've got to look at this break now. There's going to be Saka, Rice, all resting up. They're all going to have, depending on the injuries, because I was going to say they're going to be able to have some time off now. But if these players are injured and they need to be rehabbed, they're not going to have too much time off because they have to go into London Colney anyway and do the rehab. But you think about, in terms of resting up and being ready to go after the international break, Saka not on international duty, Rice not international duty, Odegaard not on international duty, Thomas Partey not on international duty, Gabriel Martinelli didn't get called up by Brazil, so he's not on international duty. It's a bit of a boost, that, you would say, in terms of just ease up before this huge run of games, and it is a massive run of games Arsenal have got coming up after this international break. To have a lot of key players, really crucial players, first-team players, not going away with their national teams, it's got to be a boost, I would think, in terms of making sure that everyone's really ready to go for that Nottingham Forest game after the international break. Just moving on to some more questions and comments. This is kind of in response to what I was talking about yesterday when I said I'm still not ready to wave the white flag in this title race. And I've got a few comments here on that. Charlie says it's the Bournemouth and Newcastle games that have cost us. If we'd been offered 8 points from our away games at Villa, Spurs, City, Chelsea, we'd have taken all of that. Our league position and points total is lower than we'd want because of those 2 away losses. It means Bournemouth and Newcastle. But thinking positive, before Christmas, Liverpool play City, Newcastle, Everton and Spurs. They're going to drop points. The key thing for us is to be in a position to capitalise when that happens. At least 22 points from the next 8 games in 2024 is absolutely necessary. Southwest Goon says, great content, Charles. Love the daily Arsenal videos. Thank you very much. Looking at the fixtures played so far, we've played 8, 5 of them away of the top 10 in the 11 so far. Compare that to Liverpool's start, and you'll see why I feel like they can be wound in. Then the bottom one there says, no team in history has ever won the league from this position we're in after 38 games season. It's a fact. Why do you say it is not over? I don't get it. What we should be saying is focus on the 3 remaining competitions. No. I don't agree with that one at all. Arsenal still got a chance to win in title. Yes, it's going to be hard. You're quite right to point out that no team after 11 games this far behind have come back and won a title yet. I think the record is 8 points, and Blackburn Rovers did that. But it is entirely achievable. It is entirely achievable. Arsenal showed in the second half of last season the type of run that they can go on. 16 wins from 18 games. They can do that. The history shows they can do that. They've proven they can do that. And so you can't rule out it happening again. It's going to be incredibly difficult, but they can do it. And they've got, for the first time so far this season, it's looking injury-wise like things are brightening up. And if everyone's fit, everyone's available, then this team can go on a big, big winning run. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Yes, they're going to need Liverpool to slip up, but I do think Liverpool are going to drop points. I don't see Liverpool doing what Manchester City doing and just win week after week after week. I know they've had a great start, but I don't see it. I see them dropping points, and Arsenal just have to be ready to pounce if they do. I honestly believe if Arsenal can win, well, 8 out of 8 would be nice of the next 8 fixtures, but 7 out of 8 of the next fixtures, they will be in touching distance come January. And if you're in touching distance at a halfway stage of the season, then everything is to play for, in my opinion. So that's why I'm not ready to rule them out of the title race just yet. Although it is clearly going to be very difficult, and we do need Liverpool to start slipping up. Just on that, Mikel Merino has been speaking. He's speaking after the game at the weekend against Chelsea, and those quotes went out at 10:30 last night. He was talking about the pressure of the title run and the fact that Arsenal now have got no room for error, really, and if that pressure is going to become too much for the players. And he says, I think you have to enjoy that. If you want to be in a big club and you want to achieve big things, you have to love the pressure. You have to love playing against the best and for the biggest trophies. The mentality that these players have is to try to be the best every single day in every single training session. That says a lot about the team, but it is not only about wanting to do it, you have to show it. We are showing it in training. We have to show it in games as well. And for sure, I think we will. We have to look at the positives. We have to look at ourselves and at how we want to perform and not start thinking about what is going to happen if we lose. That's adding extra pressure. We know we have to win every game. We know it. We want that, and we have to work for that. And in order to achieve that, we have to focus on the present, on ourselves, on improving and getting better. That's what we're going to do. And he also talked about the fact that right now, when it comes to what Arsenal need to do, is just think about each game as it comes. And I know it's cliche, you hear it all the time in football, but again, I do think when you're in a position now where you have to claw someone in, you can't look too far ahead. You've just got to focus on the next game, win it, chalk that one off, go to the next one, win it, chalk that one off, keep going. That's the only thing Arsenal can do right now. If you start thinking too long, looking too far ahead, you start concentrating too much on Liverpool, that's when problems arise, in my opinion. And he was right to say it. I thought so. Yeah, interesting comments from Mikel Merino. I thought who had a very good game when he came on as a substitute against Chelsea. Before we wrap this one up, just wanted to shout out here to Lewis Bowles, has got in touch and says, Levi Bowles, a brand new baby Gooner has been born. Please give a shout out to my partner Jade for doing such an amazing job in birth. Well done, Jade. Big pat on the back for you. Congratulations all round on the arrival of the new one. Still thinking back to the birth of my children and just the sheer awe of which I looked at my wife as she had to endure that and go through that and do it. I pay tribute to every single woman in the world who has to go through it. So well done, Jade. Congratulations. And yeah, to you as well, Lewis, and welcome to the world. Levi, congratulations all around. And that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for watching and for listening. Appreciate it as always. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Anything you want me to discuss in that show, any question you want to ask, get into the comments. Do exactly that. I'll pull some of them together as always and get them included in the show. Until then, have a great day, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.